Welcome to Club Reddit, where membership is always free. Simply smash that subscribe button and relax into the video. Up first we have, moral of the story, once a cheater. So this revenge story happened a few months ago and I'm too scared to tell any of my friends cause I don't know how they'd view me afterwards. I don't know if this belongs here or petty revenge, but I hope you guys enjoy it. Now let's go back in time to a little over 2 years ago. I was moving states for school, but my ex got a full ride scholarship at the local state university. We agree to try and make long distance work. 2 weeks after I leave, I have an anxiety attack and I call my ex. During the conversation I feel like she's being distant, but she convinces me that it's just the anxiety and I don't get to sleep until around 3 a.m. The next morning ex calls me crying to tell me that she cheated but she feels bad and it didn't mean anything. I eventually cave, do the stupid thing and gave her a second chance. The next few months were rough. I spent every waking moment feeling anxious and paranoid. I was checking her social media constantly, I was constantly texting her, and all this anxiety made it hard to focus on my schoolwork. On top of everything, she had me convinced that it was my fault for her cheating, putting the blame on my depression and anxiety. I wasn't allowed to talk to any females because she'd get overly jealous, going as far as to forcing me to isolate myself. Eventually my paranoia and anxiety caused her to break up with me on Valentine's Day. At the end of the term I get dismissed from my university for unrelated health reasons, and I'm left homeless until a few weeks after spring break. My university is on the quarter-trimester system. Over the course of several more months she strung me along while I was in such an emotionally vulnerable state because I had to get multiple surgeries before I can return to school. I'd also like to mention that I have and still struggle with ADHD, depression and anxiety all my life, so I was feeling like I hit rock bottom and such an absolute failure. It's hard to let go of this sort of pain, and I bottled it in for a really long time. I go through the motions of borderline alcoholism, sleeping around, all around risky behavior, but who hasn't? Let's fast forward about 18 months, or around last November. It took so long, and so much counseling, but I finally managed to get to a point where I can function normally. My ex tries texting me and I felt myself regress back to the moment after I got dumped. I'm trying to be cordial, I try not to let my emotions interfere with how I conduct myself, but this witch has me seething in rage. She doesn't seem to feel guilty about what she's done to me, but I bite my tongue and ask to platonically hang out when I fly home for the holidays. Of course she agrees, but I hatch a plan to just make her pay for putting me through such a torturous period in my life. Several weeks pass and we finally hang out. Now I make a mental note not to intentionally flirt or make the first move. This is important to me on a moral standpoint, but I'll explain later. A few minutes turn into a couple hours, we're walking around a mall and it comes time to drop her off home. By this time, I've found out that she's still with the guy she cheated with, but I manage to keep my cool. I park and she invites me up to her place since her parents aren't home. We walk into an empty elevator and as soon as the doors close, she instantly starts making out with me. We get to her apartment and we do the dirty. In the middle of it, I decide to use her phone to take pictures and videos. Afterwards, I tell her that I'm gonna take a short nap and she does the same. After confirming that she's out, I take this chance to send the pics and videos to her boyfriend from her phone, unlocked it using her fingerprint. I proceed to block her and her boyfriend on all social media and both of their numbers before quietly getting dressed and leaving. I'd like to point out the importance of not making the first move because I didn't want to take the blame of seducing her. I wanted to make sure that it was her decision to cheat and that I wasn't completely responsible for her cheating. I don't feel bad about probably ruining that relationship because I now know for sure that she would have cheated with someone else if it hadn't been me. I don't even feel bad for that dude, he probably knew that she cheated on me with him. I haven't talked to either of them or our old friend group since then, but I've heard that she's attempted to sleep with my childhood friends. I could care less if they did, I just wouldn't ever wish for my worst enemies to be in a relationship with her. Next up we have, cheaters deserve loneliness. I started a new job 3 years ago, and after about 6 months we got a new manager, M. M was a nice enough dude at first and was newly married to a woman who seemed nice enough from what I was able to see whenever she stopped by for a visit. M and I got along pretty well. Both Redditors, same sense of humor, and similar music, TV tastes. After a while, though, M started giving me unwanted advances. He would compliment my appearance a little too extensively. I would catch him looking at my body as we talked. It culminated to M pulling me to his office one day and telling me how in love he was with me. His wife was a witch, he didn't know he would meet me before marrying her, etc. I immediately refused, but I tried to be tactful about it because I still wanted my job. He got upset and tried to pull me in for a kiss, but I pushed back. I didn't give a crap about tact anymore. An idea hit me, though. I told him to divorce. He, of course, said he couldn't, blah blah blah. But I kept insisting and I promised him that I would be his if he divorced her, but not before then. M went quiet and said he would see what he could do. I spent the next year recording, logging all unwanted advances towards me he made. I was careful to not deliberately egg him on, and I would politely tell him every time he did it that I did not want these advances. Each time he would say he understands but he can't help himself. I was very close to quitting because I didn't think that my revenge was going to play out, but then M comes into work and announces that he's starting to divorce his witch wife. It was as if the heavens had split open and the hand of God himself extended towards me. I made a point of avoiding M the entire day. At the end of the day, I went directly to the general manager and shared all of my logs. I also sent him to his soon-to-be ex on Facebook. I blocked him on everything and triple-checked that I was set on the max privacy settings. He was fired after a couple days. Attempting adultery didn't look great in court, either, so he lost quite a few luxuries he and his ex-wife had shared. Absolutely no reason to ever cheat on someone. Screw him. It's been a little bit since everything is done, and I have heard he is alone and has been teetering on alcoholism lately.